Please excuse me, I do not speak Italian, but I speak French, if that helps. My name is Kiley-Worthington. I am an animal welfare scientist, and I am a consultant in the psychiatry of animals. In other words, animal behavioral psychiatrist, and I particularly study animal minds. The last question for welfare really is to do with what the animals feel about the environment in which they're in. So that is part of your mind. You have to work out what they are feeling about being in a circus or a zoo or in the wild, and what knowledge they have of the world. So it's really a study of the epistemology of different animals, their world views. I was asked by the RSPCA to look at circuses in animals in zoos in the 1980s and 90s. And I did perhaps the most thorough study that has been done on all aspects of the circuses in Britain for 2 years, looking at their transport, their winter quarters, their performance, their daily lives, every aspect of the animals in the circuses, and I measured all their behaviors. We reported the results to the RSPCA, and they nearly had a heart attack because they wanted us to conclude that all animals in circuses were suffering, and we could not conclude that. Ted has done a very thorough report of the quotes that have been passed now and have caused further banning of animals in circuses in some countries, in which he points out how often they have misquoted his own work, but also my work, very widely misquoted, and that is what has caused the bans. And we are here to try and put it straight. That is not good science. That was not what the scientists who know something about the circuses and have been with them and studied the animals can conclude that you should ban them. It is like banning parenting because you have some bad parents. There are good zoos and circuses, and there are bad zoos and circuses. And now we must go forward, and my job is not a missionary. I am about the animals. I want to see the animals having a better life and going forward with circuses, because it's not of the nature of circuses that the animals have to suffer. There is already a lot of legislation in place in Italy, I understand. Everyone needs to change a bit. That does not mean you lose the circus tradition. Just remember now, we have no wild left anymore in the world. So we have to keep animals, if we are going to have elephants or tigers or lions or many, many other large mammals, they will have to be in some form of captivity. Whether this is the Kruger Park, which is a big zoo, or it is a circus, it is some form of captivity because there is no wild left. It is all controlled by human activity. So is that the case? We must give them a life of quality in the captive environment in which they live, whatever it is. And it's the same for horses, for pets, for race horses, for any sort of animal contact. We need it because we live in a multi-species world, and we can enrich our lives by having contact with these animals. We need it all, but we must not let them suffer. And we know how to do this if we bother, but not banning. That loses the circus tradition. It has a lot of effects on people, a small minority group, as well as problems with what happens to all the animals. The people matter too, but so do the animals. I think in this increasing anthropomorphic world, where most people live in cities, and have very little contact with other animals, it is very, very important to have any kind of contact between animals and humans, which is going to be safe and pleasant. The things people can learn from this, whether it's adults or children, is they can learn something about tolerance of other points of view, whether it's the animal or the people in the circus. They can learn something about conservation issues if the circus teaches them, tells them something, and they can learn that these animals can do so many different things we didn't think they could learn to do. Many of the cognitive science research is now testing what the circus people have been teaching their animals. They're testing if the animal can learn it. We already know. Bringing people and animals together, particularly the poorer ones, who are not going on safari. They are not going to see the animals in the wild. They're poor people. They can see it in a city. They can see these animals and begin to appreciate them if it's properly done. As our gentleman says, it enriches their lives and they can enrich the animals' lives. Both can have enrichment if it's properly done.